Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I don't know what time zones we're dealing with, but certainly welcome to our first DRC, DRR, and just calling it Rotaract Focus Poll. My name is Giselle, and I'm the current ARC focused specifically on Rotaract for Zone 34. And I'm really glad that you guys were able to make this, which we hope to be one of many more sessions where we get to chat with our Rotaractors and our Rotaract leaders in Zone 34. So we're moving a little quick today, right? Because we want to make the most of this 45 minutes, maybe 10 hour with you today. And so I'm handing you over to our regional membership officer, Audley. I know he may not be a stranger to many of you, Audley Knight. And he's coming to share some information with us on Rotaract. Over to you, Audley.
Hi, thank you, Giselle. My task is just to share a little update, and most of you may know before, but let me introduce myself again. My name is Audley Knight. I am the Regional Membership Officer. I am on staff with Rotary International. So, as you all know, clubs are autonomous, and each club has a president and a board, and a cluster of clubs form a district, and a cluster of districts form a zone. So we're in Zone 34, and Zone 34 covers all of Georgia, all of Florida, and all of the Caribbean. So I work mainly with the district membership chairs and the district governors in Zone 34, and I also support as much as possible with this wonderful, wonderful world of Rotaract. So that's me, and that's what I do. Just a quick update. My task again is just to speak very briefly for a few minutes because we're diving into a little bit more nuts and bolts this evening. And just to open the floor up, I'm sure after the presentations today, if you have any questions at all where Rotaract or Rotary or anything at all like that is concerned, I've been around Rotary and Rotaract for a number of years. Being on staff, I am actually also a Rotarian from the Caribbean, and I now reside in the Greater Atlanta area. So it's pretty cool. So a quick update from a numbers standpoint. Globally, we're about 206,000 Rotaractors and around 11,403 Rotaract Clubs. Rotaract has managed the gender parity for decades now. So right now there's 51% Rotaractors as female Rotaractors globally. On the Rotary side, it's still around 24%. So obviously Rotaract has it right for a long time ago. Some of the major changes which you may have been aware of already about this whole elevation of Rotaract, which happened from changes in 2019. So much so, we at RI, we're not even referring to it as an elevation of Rotaract anymore. We are just saying Rotaract because the elevation is in the past, it has already happened. So right now our Rotaract is considered just simply another membership type. It's just another way for persons with the heart of service to give backup service. So you may or may not realize, especially for our Rotarians that are on the call, our Rotary magazine isn't called Rotarian anymore. It's just simply called Rotary. And the reason for that is because of the inclusion of Rotaract in everything that we do. You will also start to hear language from Rotary International saying 1.4 million members. The rationale for that is the inclusiveness or the total transparency that Rotaract is simply just another membership type. So those are the two major things that might be a lot more visible over the past 4 or 5 months, just to remind everyone about this whole the inclusion or the non-separation for Rotaract. The major reasons for the change actually, or obviously, is over the years, once you reach age 30, the Rotaractors felt they had to be kicked out. That's no longer there as well. Clubs and districts are autonomous. Some districts are keeping an age limit, especially in other parts of the world, like some places in India. But the removal is just a global footprint that each club and district has. The other major change is a Rotaract club wouldn't necessarily need a sponsor Rotaract club to start or a sponsoring Rotary club. those are some changes as well that has happened with the inclusion and just the whole thing of Rotaract being a membership type. The major thing, which is what we're doing here today, is to try and capture as much information as possible. Because in my view, we may have possibly 300,000 Rotaractors. We're really not entirely sure. Because prior to now, we weren't thinking of, and Rotaractors were never invoiced. Some districts would have possibly a listing of Rotaractors, possibly mainly, in the Caribbean. And districts may have a district Rotaract fee or dues at some point, but they were never officially any RI dues. That's kicking in. It should have started in 1 July of this year, but that invoicing will definitely start now 1 July 2023. So it's super important that we have correct information at this point in. It's super important that we have Rotaract leadership information keyed in, especially for our university-based clubs, when we know there's a drop just before, but in the summer, when the schools are out, the university and the colleges are out, and we really need folks to carry on the baton and keep the information in. So I'm going to stick around for as long as possible. If anyone here has any specific information about Rotaract, I'll gladly do that as well. There are some links I'm going to share in the chat. One particular link I love to death because it's one page with everything Rotaract, and web links are embedded to find how to do grants, a Rotaract handbook, sample bylaws, just a lot of stuff in one spot. So I'm going to stop there, place it in the chat, and hand it over to Giselle. And thanks for the opportunity.
And thank you, Audley. No, it's really wonderful. We have this wealth of knowledge, right? Getting it firsthand from Rotary International as to Rotaract's growth, right, over the past few years. And then to bring it back home, right? Because as Audley would have mentioned, we of course represent Zone 34, right? And Zone 34 to me is very unique because we have all these different accents, right? And certainly because we actually have a very strong Rotaract presence, right? In this mixture between the US and the Caribbean. So I am just here today to share with you some Zone 34 Rotaract information. And I have a very short slide because I like slides, right? And I'm going to share this with you now. Okay, I'm not that one as yet. Okay, fantastic. So just in terms of who we are, okay, so from my correspondence to you on behalf of this wonderful Zone Rotaract Committee, just to know, we represent the Zone 34 Rotaract Committee. We were established last year. We're pretty new, right? But the point is that we came together really for this, exactly what is happening here, to get a platform where Zone 34 could talk, speak, laugh, love Rotaract, okay? And that's what we're all about. We know there have been significant changes. Audley reminded us of some of them, right, in Rotaract. And so we are here figuring it out as well, but more importantly, working with you so that we get whatever is best for our Zoom, right? And no one is left behind. So what, under our Rotary coordinator, Mike Dura, what he did was basically reach out to the 4 districts that on paper have the most Rotaract clubs, right? So those represent the 6900, 6970, 7020, 7030, and persons were sourced from within those districts to form this committee. And then of course we brought in the gurus like Audley and stuff to help us, right? And our focus remains that we were about fact finding and building relationships. And this new Rotary and now, we're all about communication and that, that data, that pushing, because we knew that MyRotary focus is such a big thing. So in terms of facts, Audley shared some of it, we have this push that we really have to make for our Rotaractors, our Rotaract Clubs. And it resides a lot in MyRotary in terms of getting the data for our Rotaract Club and our Rotaract Club members correct. Because as of January 2023, all Rotaract Clubs are going to be invoiced by Rotary International. And this is not now, this was something that has been communicated for quite a while, since about 2018, confirmed in 2020, and now being implemented in 2023. But what's happening, remember what happened in 2020, 2021. So, you know, we're kind of now processing what is happening. And so we're looking at the actions that we can take. Very noteworthy, we also have some changes in MyRotary, specifically for our Rotaractors, because part of that whole, what came out of that elevation process was the Rotaractors are now on equal footing with Rotarians in terms of their membership in this organization. Therefore, certain Rotary tools that are very common to Rotary clubs are also Rotaract tools and meant to be just as easily used and easily accessed. And one of those, is of course MyRotary platform. So we actually have a very cool step-by-step presentation that's going to be done by Alicia in a little bit. But one of the two last things that I want to leave you with is the reason we need this push is this represents our data, Zone 34's data as at August 12th. So very recent, okay? And we pulled a report and basically this shows how many clubs out of your district's Rotaract clubs have actually put in information. And we were very lenient here, okay? We didn't tell you how many positions were reported. Once we saw some kind of information being put in terms of recognizing, you know, a Rotaract secretary, or Rotaract treasurer, Rotaract president, we reported it as a club who had started putting in their information. And so we will send this out, to you guys. We actually have the one with more information. So you now could actually see the positions that have been reported. And of course, we see that we did have some improvement, and that's exactly what we're about. After this session, we expect to see more improvement in terms of more clubs being put into MyRotary. So this is a snapshot. That was June, and we saw that we have some increases, which is very good as of August. So if we do this again in September, I'm hoping that a lot of those blanks would actually have numbers against them. And finally, you know, how can you help? You know, you represent some of the Rotaract leadership in our zone. And so we always want to start where we have the positions, right? So there are still some districts that don't quite yet have their DRC, their District Rotaract Chair, or their DRR, District Rotaract Representative appointed. So we're asking you for, if you are such a district, if you're not sure, you can feel free to reach out to us to find out, because we also have a list on that. We're also looking for your support in the updating of Rotaract information. And as I said, we're going to talk about that, but MyRotary now allows a district governor, a district Rotaract chair, and a district Rotaract representative to download an existing list of a specific Rotaract club within their district, and you can manually update that information. It will be like an Excel form, and then you could send it back to MyRotary through the data@rotary.org email, and that allows for them to input the information. And then of course, if all this is kind of flying over your head, you can touch base with us at rotaract34@gmail.com. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing because we're going to get to the meat of the matter. And I think one of the most exciting parts of our meeting, which is really the how-to session. And Alicia took her time. This is the second time she has a go at this because, as we said, MyRotary had some updates. And she's going to share with us, you know, what some of these steps, you know, updates in the present, all these things, what they look like on MyRotary. So over to you, Alicia.
Thank you, Giselle. Let me get my presentation pulled up here. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Alicia Rodriguez. I am out of District 6900. I am the District Rotaract Chair from District 6900. And our Zone 34 committee participated overall a couple months back with doing a step-by-step process. And as Giselle mentioned, things have changed since that presentation was made. So we thought, we can, you know, hopefully get some new people on this to get the step-by-step walkthrough, but also for those who are now, who saw it before and are looking at it now, it does look different. So this can kind of help you, you know, navigate how to get everything updated in the system. So we're going to go ahead and get started here.
Alicia, you're having the presentation view, and that's what you wanted to share.
That is not what I wanted. Thank you for telling me. Let me see.
And as Alicia just suggests that, just a reminder to please share with us your district, right, and your position. Alicia would have put that in the chat. You can rename yourself so we just know who's represented. Back over to you, Alicia.
So are we on the right? Do I have the right screen up?
Yes.
Definitely, yes.
Okay, sorry. So basically, you need to go to your favorite web browser, and in your web browser, you'll type in my.rotary.org, and it pulls up this landing page where you can sign in a couple different ways. You can either go up here, sign in and register. If this is your first time, you've never logged in, definitely go through the register section. It'll be important that you have been designated as a club president in order for you to register, and we'll kind of go through the importance of getting that email address correct, so that way you can register later on. But go ahead, pick whichever way you'd like to sign in. You'll utilize your login information, which is typically your email address and your chosen password. Once you've signed in, you'll have access to kind of a bunch of different sections up here. I implore you to get your presidents to explore these landing pages, see what's out there, figure out, all the learning and references that are out there, getting to see what other clubs are doing in around the world, and get kind of inspiration from, essentially what's listed here in the MyRotary section. So to navigate into getting your club information updated, we're going to go over here to Home, Clubs, and if you are a dual member, you'll see multiple clubs here listed, but you'll of course select the Rotaract Club because that is the club that we're interested in updating. You'll have club details here, and in order to add members, you'll want to go into this little members tab here. This gets you into the general landing page for your club. And as you'll see, once you scroll down, you'll have your list of members that you currently have active and listed in your club. If your club data hasn't been updated in a while, you may have some very outdated information with some really old members, in which case this presentation will be extremely helpful, because this will help you go through and kind of terminate members that are no longer active in your club, but also add members that are active. Through here, you have this data services. This data services automatically links you to data@rotary.org. As Giselle kind of mentioned, for any DRCs, DRRs that are working with getting club presidents designated, collecting that data, understanding who those club presidents are, and then ultimately sending that information to this email address. This email address also is here for you if you run into any issues with updating any member data. This database or this email address is here for you for any of that. So we're going to go into adding a member. Again, it gives you a similar landing page as it previously. When you scroll down, we are kind of driven to this. And this kind of gives you the opportunity to look up to see if the email address currently exists in the system, the first and last name. So we already know we have John Doe listed as one of our members. So we're going to go and we're going to search. And as you see, this literally lists every John Doe that is listed in the Rotaract system. So if they are already in the system, you can see that. But if you see them and you're like, oh yeah, this John Doe, I want him to be in my club. So you're going to select this person, you're going to go through, you're going to scroll through, and it's going to have all their data, their address, all of that to confirm. Once you continue, because they are already designated in the system, the only option to add them into your club is as an honorary member. So they will not be listed as an active member. So in which case you have to, figure out who their club designation is, what email address that currently, or what club currently owns that email address. And you can kind of designate that through the data at rotary.org email address and get that all sorted out. But moving on to if we were just adding a brand new member who's never been put into the Rotary system, typing in just a random email address, you go to search. And once you hit search and that email address is not designated in the system at all, it's going to tell you, sorry, we couldn't find your results, in which case you'll have the option to add a new member. Once you've clicked that, you'll kind of scroll through, and this is what the information that I had previously described. It'll give you the option to type their full name, their first name, their last name. Everything with an asterisk is what's required of you to kind of put in. And again, the most important information that you put into the system is this email address, because that is what designates the ability for a specific member to go into RI and sign in and register for an account. So that email address must be correct in the system. There's also opportunity to put an address. If you don't necessarily collect that information, that's not super important from the jump, but if you have that information and you're able to input that, that's great as well. All of this information is also updatable by the member themselves from their own profile page. They can go in and update, you know, their mailing address, their city, their state, what have you. And then also like their preferred language, their country, region, this state, province, territory. Once you select your country region, it automatically populates. If you have a state, province, territory that can be given, that'll automatically populate for you. But of course, since I had selected the United States, it populated as such. And once you get down to the bottom and you've completely filled out all the information and you click continue, this will give you the opportunity, again, since that member wasn't already designated in the system, you should be able to click this drop-down menu and select active. And then from there, select the membership start date. And then once you click that you've certified that everything's in accordance with bylaws, you'll click continue. And then it'll showcase here at the top that you've successfully added a new member to the club. And then it'll provide you their new member ID. So just some key takeaways from that. Again, the email address is the most important information. That has to be correct in the system in order for your member to be able to go in and have a MyRotary account, be able to upload a profile picture, upload any data about themselves, their job, anything essentially that they'd like to be provided in the public profile to all Rotarian members. So then we're going to move into adding member information. So let's say, for example, you didn't put the email address in correctly into the system, and we want to edit John Doe's email address. You're going to click these three dots over here, and it'll automatically provide you with a few options to edit the member's data. So you're going to click View Member Details, and once you've done that, you should have access to edit the name, you know, their birth date, their gender, what have you. But the important piece is here is that their contact information. So when you go to edit, you'll be able to type in a new email address. If you want to add a secondary email address, just make sure you have something designated for their primary email for RI communication. Once you've done that, you scroll through again. This will just verify all that information and click Save Changes. And then it'll tell you that the update has been successful. I'm not going to go through the full how to go back to the original landing page. I'm just going to click home for the purpose of this, but you'd go back and you navigate the same way we did at the beginning. Now let's say you have a lot of members in the system when you inherit access to this and you want to do a member termination. So again, you're going to go into the three dots and you'll have this option here for member to terminate the member. So once you've selected that, and you scroll down, you'll see the termination date and the termination reasoning. So you would just fill that out accordingly based on whatever is applicable for that particular member and click continue. It'll give you one more verification that you do indeed want to terminate this member, certify that's in accordance with the club constitution, and confirm. Now, once you hit confirm, that member isn't automatically going to go away. It does take about 24 hours before that member disappears completely from the system, but your options are limited here. I'm not entirely sure why it gives you the option to assign a club officer role, but that was part of the screen grab that I was able once I terminated a member. So essentially, you won't be able to do anything else other than what's listed here. Now, updating club officers. Updating club officers becomes important when you're trying to give access to members of the board to be able to update the data. So that way the data doesn't necessarily fall solely on the club president. The club president can then go in and update club officers and grant access to members of the board to be able to go into the RI system and terminate and add members accordingly. So we're going to go through that right now. So we're going to, pretend because John Doe is unavailable. We're going to go to Jane Doe, clicking the 3 dots. We're going to assign a club officer role. Jane Doe pops up here. And you can either select the current term or future term. The current term is applicable for anybody, again, that you want to have access to be able to update the data in RI this year. The 2023-2024 is important because you'll need to designate a president-elect for the incoming year. If you do this early, it'll automatically grant access to that person as soon as July 1, 2023 hits. That person will be able to go in and have these accesses, and you don't have to go through the data at Rotary.org. It'll just be automatically transferred over to the next president. So it's super important that as soon as you know who the incoming president is, that you designate this person accordingly. The club president for this screenshot was already designated, so it's not showing up as an option, but this sort of gives you a snapshot of what member chairs are available. Once you select that, you click continue, and it'll automatically update into the system. So we're not really going to go into updating club information. I just wanted to kind of include this in here just so that way you're able to at least see kind of what that looks like. So to go back into the club details, you click back here and there you'll be able to update your contact information. So any primary email address associated with the club, and then any, I actually have a slide for this, any meeting locations that you want to update as well, which provides you the ability for your club to be found on Club Finder. So you can edit accordingly in these sections under the club details. Oh, and those slides did not delete, so we're just going to scroll right through those. So the overall key takeaways, so make sure that the club president is reported at all times. If you know the incoming president, that they are also designated. If you have any issues with uploading data into MyRotary, I'd probably reach out first to your DRR, DRC, see if they could, even us as Zone 34, we could see if we could be of assistance. And then if not, we'll probably designate you over to data at Rotary.org if there's any major issue that we can't help you kind of navigate ourselves. Again, email addresses are super important in linking a MyRotary account with your club. It's super important that that information is correct. And then once you have access to MyRotary, then you can explore all the areas to help your club. So thank you. Here again is the important email addresses. Definitely, I think those were sent already. But if you have any questions, we're always happy to help. Thank you. And I think we're going to go into a question and answer section with Elise.
Okay. Yes, so we're kicking it off. Alicia, over to you, and thanks so much, Alicia.
Greetings to my fellow Rotarians and of course to our dynamic Rotaractors here on the call this evening. So as seen previously, Alicia went through a very detailed presentation, but of course, there's always room for questioning. Any concerns that you may have, this is the time. So we are kindly opening the floor to each and every one of you. Any questions that you may have for us to assist you as you maneuver through elevating Rotaract, we are here to assist. So just remember that no question is an invalid question nor a silly question. So please ask any questions that you may have. We are here to assist you. Just asking, I'm just gonna request a tiny request. Please use the raise hand feature. So we're going to try and make sure that this process is as smooth as possible. So any questions that you may have, please use that raise hand feature and I'll call on you, and feel free to share your lovely voice with us. So I'm going to go over to the chat, and we had a question concerning removing members. I think I would like to pass the floor over to Alicia to answer that question. So Melissa Jupiter from the Rotaract Club of Hinch, if I'm not mistaken, her concern is about removing inactive members because, of course, when removing members, they're asking you for the reason of termination. So any clarity on that, Alicia? Would you like to answer that question?
I guess might need a little bit of clarity as to what the question is. So she's questioning the removing the members and adding the reasoning behind it.
So removing inactive members, I'm assuming there's no reason.
Oh, so gotcha.
Correct. But I believe there's an other option, but you can.
Correct.
You can, yeah.
Correct. There should be another option that's listed, in which case that is the utilization for that particular member. Thank you for clarifying the question.
Thank you for that, Alicia. Audley also mentioned something that is, worth remembering. When you are registering onto MyRotary, ensure that you use your personal email address. So we've been having some issues where persons have been using their work email address and also their university email address. And when they relocate, it's very difficult for them to use that or receive correspondence through that email address that they have used. So when you are registering to MyRotary, please ensure that you use an email address that is with you forever, that you have full access to.
And if I can follow up real quick, because I'm seeing two hands for DR Robin and Evertius. If you'd have an issue with your password or updating your password, the links, or when you're trying to update, is going to be trying to send you back or send an email verification to the email address that we have on file. So if it's a past work address or you're no longer at that particular university or something, if that email address is not valid, that's where a lot of challenges come in. And then we would have to then write to data to try and assist with figuring all of that out. Or ideally, you can also copy me and stuff like that. And I'd love to be able to assist on the back end as well too. So I just wanted to jump in. So back to you, Alicia.
Thank you for that, Audley. I saw, before I go over to DRC Robin, I saw that Mike unmute his. Would you like to say something or add something to what Audley just mentioned?
Well, yeah, I saw the spreadsheet that showed the number of Rotaract clubs that were added in August, which I applaud. I'm just curious, how do we know which clubs were added? That could be important to chase down those who were not added.
Yes, I could jump in here, Alicia. So you do have the opportunity as a DRC, as a DRR, as a district governor, and also as a president, to be able to download a list of reported, so current reported officers and current not reported officers, because what they'll do, they'll list all the positions, right, in your club, right? So straight president, straight down Rotaract advisor, everything. Right? And what they'll do, they'll show you what is the name or the person who has it. So if there's no one, you'll see information not reported. So that is something actually that we could also assist clubs with, because we do have access to be able to do it. So we could do a district one, we could do a club specific one as well, and that will definitely give you your snapshot as of that date, what club positions were reported.
Audley, can I expand on that? Obviously, we want to keep this within the district people, but how can we get that link to go there? Where is it?
It's in MyRotary. It's actually in one of the same areas that Alicia spoke of. It's under home. And then when you click into your club report, right, you get a list of reports and you're able to actually see it actually says incoming officer. Okay, and you can pull it down and download it.
I'll contact you.
Here, Mike, you're safe, you're safe. So I think we are going over to our DRR. So back to you, Alicia.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Giselle. Thank you. And I hope, Mike, that was clear for you. Yes, thumbs up. Yep, good to go. All right. So we're going to hand the floor over to DRR Robin for your question. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Rotarians and fellow Rotaractors. So my query is, there are some Rotaractors that are raising the issue that they are still tied to Rotaract Clubs that are now terminated in MyRotary. And how can they get their email pulled from those clubs? Because in my mind, if a club is terminated, doesn't that drop all the membership that is linked to that club? But if not, you can let me know and how they can go about rectifying that potential issue.
If I may, yes, if that club is no longer there, because Rotaract, similar to Rotary, you have to be assigned or linked to a Rotary club or Rotaract club. So unfortunately, if you haven't transferred to another Rotaract club or Rotary club, you're in essence no longer a Rotarian or a Rotaractor for that matter. So if they were in a Rotary club or Rotaract club that's no longer active, they are now inactive or they're no longer members. The good thing is, if they're transferring to another club, similar to what the pages that Alicia had shown, once that new club is searching for them, they'll find them there and be able to include them or transfer them over to a new club. So if that club is that they're affiliated with is no longer active, unfortunately, they're not a member at this point because the membership is done through a club.
Right. Okay. So I'll liaise with the club because, like you said, they are transfer members of a club that was terminated. They're in a new club now, and that new club is trying to add them, and that's where they're facing the issue.
If they're having any further issues, just ask them to write something to data@rotary.org or send me an email first. I'd love to try and look into it on the back end to see how I can assist. If not, I'll pass that on over through to data, because they should be able to have identified that they were Rotaractors, but not linked to a club. So they shouldn't have much of a challenge there, but if they do, just send me an email. I'm happy to assist.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that question, DRC Robin, and thank you for that answer, Audley. We're gonna move on over to DRC 7030. Good evening.
Hey, Alicia. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm all right. Just a quick question. I may have missed it, but just seeing who are the Rotarians authorized to change membership details on MyRotary? Like, for example, while we were doing this, I was looking at the Rotaract Club of St. Lucia, and I realized their membership is not what's here. There's a lot more members. But who is able to add members? Is it just the president? Is it president of Rotary? Can the DRC do it? Who is actually authorized to make those changes?
I could jump in there, Alicia. So it's very interesting because if we were having this discussion, I think 2 months ago, the response would be very different. So one of the changes that occurred very recently, I'm talking this month, to MyRotary for our Rotaractors, is that actually they have full autonomy on the ability to update their club info. So what that means is, unfortunately, the Rotary presidents, as they used to have the sponsor club, who could have also edited information, can no longer edit information. However, the support that a DRC, a district Rotaract chair, a district Rotaract representative, or district governor could provide is by downloading that overall listing, right, of the Rotaract club that we spoke of. So you go in there and you download that your Rotaract listing. So the same listing you're able to see actually ever. And when you get that now, it becomes a manual way that you can update it, right? So when you get that information, because you would have a relationship with the Rotaract Club of Solutions. So you can literally go to them and be like, guys, fill this out. And then the other step now is that you would just need to email that to data@rotary.com. So it's now a sort of manual way that you can get that information to Rotary International, and they will update it. So you'll be able to see, oh, look, now the Rotaract Clubs information is updated. So unfortunately, the editing part, Rotarians no longer have that, but we are able, those key positions are able to help through a manual process. And also, they could send to data at Rotary. If you know Alicia Lake is the president, you can send them her correct email and stuff, and they could add her. And so now she, as president of the Rotaract Club, could edit. So that's also another alternative, depending on what works best for you guys. And I don't know if Audley wants.
Zell, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I
Oh,
don't
sure.
know if you wanted
But
to
Alicia,
add
I would
anything
love
else.
to jump
Yes.
in as well, because you know you look through this as well too. But the Rotaract Club leaders can update the information as well. The Rotaract Club president,
thank you very much.
the Rotaract Club secretary. So that's why it's so important to get at least the leadership for all the Rotaractors in, so they can always edit and remove and update the information. And we have some time between now and 1 January 2023. So hence we're trying to do this to try and encourage that to happen as much as possible.
And as long as they're designated as club officers in the system, that's important.
Thank you so much, Giselle, Audley, and Alicia for that explanation. We are moving over to Alex. Alex, would you like to unmute yourself?
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I know Alicia pretty well, so hi, Alicia. I have a few quick questions, and I just want to get a little clarity on the RI dues. I think I saw on the slide it was dues of $5 and $8 per member. Is it 5 or 8? And is that effective as of January 2023 or July 2023?
It's $5 for university-based clubs and $8 for community-based clubs.
Okay.
And the difference is it's annual dues as well too. So it's for the whole year, and it will start January 1, 2023. It originally should have started in July 1, 2022, but it was pushed back when we're trying to get the information accurate and all other things on the back end from RI sorted out as well.
And will be based off of the membership as of 1/1/2023?
Correct.
Perfect. So that answers that question. Is there a way to customize the types of officers? Because I know like our club, like we don't have like a foundation chair or an officer. Is it important, or can we just, is it important to get all of the officers in MyRotary, or just the ones that are going to be making changes to the system?
Yeah, so I would say that, of course, it's encouraged, because things like Rotary Foundation, it's new to Rotaract, but it's certainly where we want to go. But whatever you have, most importantly, especially your president, your secretary, please report, because in that little snapshot I showed of the clubs, and I put 60 clubs, 4 clubs, whatever, a lot of it is not all the positions filled, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. We really just want that RI has a way to communicate with the club, and that data becomes correct. So if you only have 4 of those positions, you can report on the 4. And whenever maybe you get some of those other positions named for your club, you can go back in and you can put it in, even if it's the next year. So that's fine. You're not going to be, it's not going to stop the uploading of the information. Whatever you have, you can put it in.
Okay. And then last question I had was, so I'm a dual member of the Rotaract and Rotary Club, and I noticed on the Rotary Club, on my Rotary page, I was able to see a few extra tabs, like goals and reporting. So I was curious if Rotaract would be getting those functionalities. One thought was maybe Rotaract would get those once the dues start in January 2023, but I just kind of wanted to check on that.
Like I'm jumping on that. The thing is, if it's evolving, and once you have a up-to-date Rotaract sign on or MyRotary account, and you're a club officer in Rotaract, you will see changes happening on a month-to-month basis. So based on the access level, similar to what happens in Rotary, you'll be able to see more things. So a Rotaract club officer will see a lot more. than just a Rotaract member. So once things are updating, because the MyRotary page is in constant evolution, you'll be able to see more things, and you'll see more things in relation to Rotary Club Central and different reporting, because that's part of the reason why the dues have been pushed back even further, just to get the correct integration right and to provide as much information to Rotaractors as possible. So you will see changes as we go along over the next 4 or 5 months, and then continuous going forward.
Okay, perfect.
And you'll know you'll have dual dues as well, right? Because you have your Rotaract Club dues and your Rotary Club dues. I just wanted to remind you of that as well.
Yep.
But welcome for Rotaract, a dual member. So it's a fantastic way to experience both avenues of service. That's just fantastic. I'm wondering if some of us can do that, right? PDG Felix, I wouldn't mind.
There might be some age restrictions.
I like Felix's background. That seems like a cool place. Golf course.
Thank you so much for your questions, Alex, and thank you, Audley and Giselle, for your answers. I would also like to ask this question on behalf of someone who remains unknown. So as you know, in Rotaract, we have 2 types of Rotaract clubs. We have community-based, we have university-based. And as you know, most university clubs are heading back to school. So the individual is wondering, is there a deadline for updating, the info on MyRotary for university-based clubs?
No, not really. It's just the challenge is come 1 January 2023, the invoicing will go out. So the idea is to just have it as accurate as possible. And the university-based clubs in the US have just started to come back in person now. I mean, classes have restarted just in August. So you may find a university-based clubs just getting their feet under the ground, getting a president done. So there's a few months to really get that done. In the Caribbean, the university-based clubs won't start until September. So between September, October, November, hopefully those university-based clubs become a little more active, a bit more robust, and have a more accurate membership count and an active club leadership on our board, hopefully before December. So 1 January 2023, the invoicing will be absolutely correct.
Thank you for that, Audley. And once again, I do encourage each and every one of the Rotaractors who are in a university-based club, as soon as you get into the campus, as soon as you get your feet wet, please update the information and ensure that you are ready for January 2023. We have another question. This person says, I have updated my Rotary club officers, but do I have to add all members as well, or only the club officers? So I'd like to pass that over to Alicia.
Thank you for that question. So yes, we'd like for you to add every single member of your club into the database. Again, for that reporting and that access for them to be able to get into MyRotary, as well as to be counted as a Rotaractor, as a Rotaractor part of your club. So yes, it is definitely important that you report all active members of your club.
And just to reiterate, if someone is a current president of a Rotaract club and they don't have a MyRotary account, how can they get one?
So that comes back to making sure that their email address and their name is given to the DRR, the DRC, so that way they can provide that information to data@rotary.org, data@rotary, that data website or email address, and get you into the database. And then once your email address is provided, you should then have access to go in and register your email address as long as it matches into the RI system. And then once that happens, you should have all the same accesses that we just kind of went through today.
Thank you for that response, Alicia. So this brings us to the end of our question and answer segment. I'm not seeing any other questions. Nope. Any raised hand? Okay, Garvin. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. First, let me apologize. I'm unable to turn on my camera, and I know it's not in line with Zoom etiquette, so I apologize for that. And I'm pretty sure I probably missed this because while I logged in early, I was unable to sit in for the meeting. So Audley just mentioned that the invoices will be coming in January 2023. So my question, I know that the Rotary year runs from July to June. So since the invoices are coming in 2023, is it that those invoices are from January 2023 to June 2023, and then we have to pay again in July 2023 in the beginning of the 2023-2024 Rotary year, or would the other invoice come in January 2024?
The other invoice will be January 2024. So the billing cycle for Rotaract is the only difference that's happening in the Rotary world, where the billing cycle for Rotary is still 1 July to 1 July. And well, December, where Rotary is billed twice. Rotaract will only be billed once. And from January, so it's going to be done by a calendar year. So you're correct. 1 January 23, the next invoice will be January 1, 2024.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you for your question, and thank you for answering that, Audley. Going once, going twice. I don't see any other hands raised. I don't see no questions in the chat. Thank you for participating. I hope that we were able to answer your questions to the best of our ability. Now I'm going to pass the floor over to Giselle as we conclude tonight's session.
Thanks so very much, Alicia. And I think, you know, sometimes they save the best for last. I didn't know that. So that is a really good question there, Gavin. I really didn't know that it would fall in line with January for each year. So that's very good.
Yeah,
thanks so much, guys. Oh, sorry.
No. I heard it and I thought the maths wasn't mathsed, so I had to ask.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually have to just wrap us up. We have one of our members of our committee. We have Kareem here to just send us safely home and to, of course, give us some nice updates before we jump off the call.
All right, good afternoon, Zone 34 District Rotaract Chairs, DRRs, club officers, members of our Rotaract Committee, and other specially invited guests present. It is indeed a pleasure to be asked to deliver today's vote of thanks at our kickoff event for Zone Rotaract leaders. Our goal is to have meetings like these every third Monday of the month, and our focus for the first 2 to 3 meetings will be on MyRotary updates. So please look out for emails and updates on that. A hearty thank you goes out to all of our presenters today. You know, we have the lovely Giselle Holder, who, set the tone with some warm greetings from our committee, as well as the general moderation of today's proceedings. Our regional membership officer, Audley Knight, I've sat in so many of his presentations, and it's always great to get insight from the RI perspective. Other Zone 34 committee members present, Alicia and Alicia, for the presentation on updating MyRotary and the general moderation of our lively Q&A segment. And finally, all of our attendees. Sessions like these are only worthwhile because you attend and you engage with us. So appreciate all of you for coming tonight. Just before we adjourn, the first thing I want to do is to take a group photo. Actually, we should have time. Yes. I want to take a group photo firstly. So if you can turn on your cameras. Look pretty. I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3, smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then secondly, I wanted to give an update on one of our upcoming projects next month. As we know, it's Literacy Month, and we are calling all clubs within Zone 34 to join our efforts to support basic literacy and education with your very own back-to-school projects. A cash prize will be awarded to those most liked posts that can be used to assist the winning club with future community service projects. So please look out for an official correspondent from us soon. And with that, thank you everyone for coming out. And we look forward to seeing you next month, third Monday. All right, guys, take care.
Thank you.